Hello, welcome or welcome back to the Yarn and Yarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Today's the day. I am starting my first of my 12 cast ons. I'm laughing at myself because in my head I thought this would be something that would start yesterday. I should say, before I launch into a bunch of waffle, if you are new to the channel, and there have been a few people new over the last couple of weeks, and you don't know what I'm talking about when I go on about the 12 cast ons, I'll link a couple of videos below where you can hop back and find out what's going on and what we're embarking on, and if you want to join in, how you can join in. So, yes, I'm laughing at myself because I thought I was going to start this video yesterday, which was Monday the 27th, yeah, Monday the 27th, and actually be posting this video today on YouTube. But because my in-laws left yesterday, and I had in my head that as soon as they left, I was going to get cracking with the 12 cast ons. But I just needed a day to catch up with myself. I'm sure you know how that goes. You know what December was like for me, and the end of November. I was sick with various viruses and things, and I just felt like I was playing catch up all month long. And I still feel a bit sort of froggy in my throat, and I've got an occasional sort of cough attack still going on, so I don't think I'm entirely clear of that virus that I had at the beginning of December. But yeah, I just needed a day on the sofa yesterday. Well, it wasn't entirely on the sofa because you know what it's like, there's always jobs to do, as well as the normal house chores that always need doing. When visitors left, I had to strip and change the beds and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there was some boring stuff going on as well, but it was mostly a day on the sofa with my knitting. Didn't really fancy trying to gather my project and film, so I'm starting a day late, but it doesn't really matter. Our make-along goes right through until the end of January for anyone who is joining in. It started on the 24th, and I know that there are some people who have already cast on some projects, one or some, because I've been seeing posts pop up over on Instagram. So if you are using the 12 cast ons hashtag over on Instagram, I'm trying to repost a lot of people's cast ons to my stories because I think it's fun to share that way. There have been a couple of posts that I haven't been able to reshare, and I think that's to do with everyone's personal privacy settings. If you see me resharing people's 12 cast on posts and I haven't shared yours, it's probably because of that, or it could be just because I've missed them because there's been quite a few. But yeah, feel free to tag me at Rainbow Ange or Yarn and Yarns, and then I should, hopefully, if Instagram is playing ball, definitely see those. I still feel woefully behind in my 12 cast on preparation. If you have followed me for a while and were here for the previous iterations of this make-along, then you'll know that usually by the beginning of December I've got all my projects planned and I know more or less what I'm doing. This year, I'm just completely unplanned. I've got about 24 projects that I could cast on, and I just don't know where it's going to go. So I've decided that that's okay. I think I'm just going to wake up each day and decide what to do cast on that day. I think that approach might feel a little bit more chaotic for me, but hopefully you won't really notice anything. It just means that instead of getting up and picking up a project bag with everything ready, in the mornings I'll be scrambling around and deciding what project to work on. But it feels kind of fitting somehow. I feel like 2021 has been constant scrambling to try and figure out what I'm doing and what's going on, so why should the 12 cast ons be any different? The reason I've got so many projects is there's some that I've got yarn for. Well, all of them I've got yarn for, but there are some where I might need to buy a pattern to work with a particular yarn that I want to work with. There are some where I'm just on the fence about whether I've got the brain power to actually start the project. And also I've really had to rein myself back and not cast on 12 sweaters. Although that wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be because obviously I don't have 12 sweater quantities in my stash. But I could quite easily cast on 12 sweaters, and I already have plenty of sweaters on the needles. That's not going to stop me casting on more, but I don't need to cast on 12 new sweaters. Before I tell you about what I'm starting today, I did also want to mention, because I've had a few comments on some of the videos that I posted through Vlogmas about the 12 cast ons. I will be, I think, casting on all knitted projects this year. I do sometimes try and throw in a crochet project, but there isn't anything that's striking my fancy particularly at the moment, crochet wise. But if you are a crocheter, then you can absolutely start some crochet projects, and it will totally count for the 12 cast ons. This year, for the first time, I think I'm also going to count weaving projects. So if you're putting something new on your loom, that counts. And also if you're starting a spin, that totally counts too. And I'm also going to throw in needle felting, as I did a little bit of needle felting in Vlogmas. So basically anything fibre arts related: knitting, spinning, crochet, weaving, needle felting. If you're starting any of those projects, then it totally counts for our make along. Right, what am I starting today? Well, having said I'm not going to cast on 12 sweaters, my first project is a sweater project. And I'm really excited about it, as you can tell. I'm always excited about new cast ons. So this is going to be living in this awesome sort of pillow project bag that my lovely friend Pamela made. I'm not sure if Pamela's watching at the moment. Haven't seen a comment from Pamela for a while, but if you're watching, Pamela, thank you so much for this gorgeous project bag. I absolutely love it. So inside my bag I have everything I need to cast on today's project, and this is a project that I fell in love with back in the winter of 2019 because it is in that issue of Pom Pom magazine, and I am going to be casting on, is it called Waterlands? It's terrible, isn't it? I can't even remember the name of my first project. Yes, it is called Waterlands. So that is the sweater. It's a lovely colourwork yoke sweater with 3/4 length sleeves. I may be making some adjustments. Well, I am going to be making a few adjustments to the pattern because my yarn is not exactly the yarn that was used in the sample, which means I'll have a little bit of finagling to do, but hopefully it's going to work out, she says confidently. So the yarn in the original pattern is Fru Valborg Silky Yak DK, and I'm going to be using, which I have a feeling may be a discontinued yarn now, but I'm not entirely sure. It's from Louisa Harding, and it's the Esquel yarn, which is merino, llama and silk, so very similar. My yarn is slightly thicker. It's classed as a worsted weight rather than a DK weight. It's recommended to knit this on a 5mm needle, and this pattern in the book is knit on a 3.75mm needle. But the sizing is such that it recommends 2 to 4 inches of positive ease, but there's one size that's ½ an inch that would give me ½ an inch of negative ease, and the next size up would give me 6 inches of positive ease. So my plan of action is, and I've done no swatching, of course I haven't, you know me. My plan of action is to knit the negative ease size on a 4mm needle, and I'm a slightly looser than average knitter anyway, so I'm hoping that the sizing will work out. Famous last words. So my main colour is going to be this sort of grey black colour. I don't know if these have colourway names on, I think they just have numbers. Yeah, just have numbers. It's slightly darker than it's showing up on the screen. It's a really grey and blustery day here today, which is sort of making for that sort of bright light on the camera. As you can see, my yarn is slightly tweedy. And then I've got contrast colours. So on the original pattern, they've got a yellow and a grey, which I think is absolutely lovely. But I didn't have quite the right amount of yarn. This is yarn that I used to have as shop stock that has been in my de-stash pile, but then I stole it for this project. My yellow is going to be this turquoise blue. And then for what is the grey, and there's only a little accent of the grey in the pattern, I'm actually going to be using this sort of reddy pink colour. It's more pink in real life, although I think it's showing a little bit more sort of cranberry on the screen. Yeah, those are my 3 colours, and I'm hoping they will look pretty nice together. Time will tell. So As always, I'm actually going to wind these up. Although these are in balls already, I hate these sort of donut shaped balls. They're already, it's completely falling apart. So I'm going to go up and rewind a skein of each of these and see where I get to. Now today, as I mentioned, outside it's raining sideways at the moment. So I would like to go out and get some fresh air at some point. We shall see. I've also got some other bits and pieces to do around the house. So there will be some knitting time, but it might not be until later on this evening. We're going to watch the third of the Lord of the Rings trilogy movies later. We watched the first two yesterday. So that will be my knitting time on the sofa this evening, I think. But if I can get cast on, it's a top-down sweater, if I can get cast on, maybe finish the short rows and even work the first 1 or 2 rows of the chart, which isn't a huge chunk of knitting. So, because I think the cast on is below the neckband. I think you might go back and pick the neckband up. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked at the pattern, but if I could get to, you know, the first couple of rows of colour work, I would be super happy. But even if that doesn't happen, it really doesn't matter. First day of cast ons and a sweater. Going back to what I was hoping, I think I mentioned in Vlogmas, I was hoping to start a Christmas Eve cast on. I usually start a sock on Christmas Eve, but that didn't happen. So yeah, quite often I'm starting my cast ons with a smaller project. But today we're diving right in with a sweater. Go big or go home, right? Okay, I need to stop chatting to you and get winding some yarn and start my day. Okay, sorry for this slightly weird angle, but I've got my camera on the mini tripod at the moment. It's, what is it, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've managed to cast on, and while I have been editing the Vlogmas bonus video, I've managed to cast on and knit 2 rows of ribbing. I was wrong, this does start with ribbing, so yeah, more progress for this point of day than I was expecting. I'm not actually going to venture outside like I thought I might because it's pretty miserable out there. It keeps raining sideways, so I'm going to take a little break from my knitting. We've got some vegetables in the fridge that are left over from Christmas Day cooking that are just about to sort of turn from that okay to eat to mouldy slush kind of stage, you know how it is. So I'm going to whip up a couple of small batches of soup to stick in the freezer for lunches over the next couple of weeks. Good morning, or at least it's morning for me. So it's Wednesday morning now, and I had one of those really nice but kind of odd betwixtmas days yesterday. You might have seen from the little bit of sort of montage footage that you've just watched that we had quite a nice cosy day, but it was one of those days that I don't know where the time went. I spent most of the daylight hours faffing around making up batches of soup and doing a few little jobs around the house, and I didn't feel like I got much knitting in. But we did sit and watch the Lord of the Rings third movie yesterday evening, which is a good, I think it's over 4 hours long, all told, when you watch the extended version. So I did get a chunk of knitting done. But before I confess how well I got on with my project yesterday, I asked on my Vlogmas bonus if anyone had been casting on, and I got so many lovely replies, and so I thought I'd share some of the cast-ons that have been happening in the community. Before I do that, also, I should mention that I have opened, for anyone who is a Ravelry user, I have opened various threads on the Ravelry group now for you to share your cast-ons, for you to chat, and for you to share your finished objects as well. And don't forget, for this cast-on portion of the make-along, you just have to cast on between 24th of December and the end of January. So there's no obligation to finish your project in that time. I just need a picture of your cast on, and then you will go into the prize draw for that mitt set that I showed back in Vlogmas episode, whichever it was, when I chatted about the 12 cast ons. I think it was 16. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that. So, cast ons. The lovely Nia has cast on a Scattering Petals cowl, a ranunculus and a Weekender light. Jane has cast on a cardigan, a granny square blanket and a matinee jacket for a baby who's due in February. So cute. Susan has cast on a smoke jumper. Smiler Babes, and I can't remember what your name is, sorry. I want to say Sharon, but I might be wrong. I probably am wrong. I know you've told me before. Has cast on a sailor hat, which sounds really fun. Angela has cast on some yarrow socks. Helen has started 2 crochet blankets, a chevron blanket and a feather crochet blanket. I've not heard of a feather blanket before, I have to look that one up. The lovely Kim, who has the Blue Cherub channel here on YouTube, has been test knitting, or test crocheting I should say, Kim's a crocheter, a lovely amigurumi hamster, which sounds like so much fun, so cute. Joel has cast on a single malt sweater for their husband. Sarah has started a Radvent sweater, and I saw some pictures of Sarah's Radvent over on Instagram, but I didn't realise that her friend had dyed the minis for her that she's using in the Radvent, so that makes that project so special, doesn't it? Angela, the other Angela, or another Angela, there's quite a few of us here, had a Centro knitting machine for Christmas, which, it's always lovely to get new tools, isn't it? And has machine knitted a hat. I think it's always a feat, isn't it, to get used to a new tool. So well done for getting a hat off of your machine, Angela. Jeanette has started a whole raft of projects, and I've been, again, enjoying seeing Jeanette's photos over on Instagram. Jeanette has started a pair of Emily's favourite socks, a jasmine baby dress, a baby bonnet, which is just the cutest. Jeanette's already cast on and cast that off, some baby booties, and has most recently started a birch pullover for herself, I think. Kate has started a shift cowl, a stitch in time blanket, a skyline wrap and some cosy double knit socks, which, just double knit socks sound so lovely and cosy at the moment. It's not quite as wet as it was yesterday here in South Wales, but I can see outside the trees are really blowing in the breeze, so it looks pretty nippy out there. Carol has started a Betwixtmas shawl and a hibernate throw, which she said is being made in lovely Aran weight yarn, which again just sounds so cosy right now. And the lovely Zoe, who is of the Pins and Needles podcast, I'm sure you know Zoe, has started a bounce blanket, some mitts, which I believe she's knitting from some hand spun, which is super lovely, and a pair of socks. So, so many wonderful projects. I'm so excited. It's like one of the best things for me about this make along is hearing all about your wonderful projects. So I will be keeping track of those, and of course I will share if anyone wants to leave comments in any of the cast on videos about what they're casting on, I'll share those in sort of the next video after I see the comments. So keep them coming, let me know what you've been casting on. So my first day was a pretty good knitting day all told, and actually it was one of the reasons I did decide to start a sweater, because I thought I would have a reasonable amount of knitting time. And obviously with the smaller project, just a small amount of time can look like a reasonable amount of progress, but a sweater, particularly my size sweater, those rounds can be quite big, so it takes a few hours to get any good progress going. So yeah, I shall show you in a second. The other thing I wanted to say is I didn't mention yesterday that the pattern, the Waterlands Pullover, is by Lotta H. Lothgren, and I think I found Lotta as Elk Market on Instagram if you wanted to check out Lotta's work. And as I mentioned yesterday, it's from an issue of Pom Pom. And one of the things I love about the patterns in Pom Pom is you get a little blurb about each of the patterns from the designer, the author. And so I thought I'd just share a little bit about the inspiration for the Waterlands, because if you've followed here for a while, you'll know my love of my local landscape, and I just, yeah, really liked, not only is it a gorgeous design, but I just really liked the sort of thought process behind it. So it says here, Waterlands takes the structure of tiny islands strewn closely across water in an archipelago as its jumping off point. Lotta was enchanted by the archipelago's intrinsic amalgamation of opposites: water and stone, liquid and solid, motion and stasis, cold and warm, dark and light. For Lotta, even the cyclical relationship of the tides eroding the shoreline and sculpting the cliffs is reflected in the shape of the yoke encircling the shoulders. So yeah, I just really liked that sort of explanation about how the landscape, and I think this was the terrain issue, if I remember. Yeah, it says on the front terrain, sort of influenced the design. Right, time to share. Oops, I've got yarn tangled up everywhere because I have started the colour work, and so I've got all three colours joined. So here is my progress so far. I did manage these short rows on the back, so the back looks a little bit deeper, of course, than the front. And I managed to finish the first, you repeat this colour work chart twice. So I've finished the first repeat, and as you might be able to see, I've just brought the pink back in. So I think I managed to add the first row of the second chart repeat. And I just pulled my stitches off the end there and lost my beginning of the round marker, so I needed to sort that out. But no problem, I didn't actually drop any stitches. What I didn't appreciate about the yoke from just looking, obviously I fell in love with a picture of the sweater, and in the back of my mind I wanted to cast it on since I first saw it back in winter 2019 when their magazine came out, but I didn't really pay too much attention to the pattern details. And what I didn't appreciate about the pattern is there's some texture in the colour work sections of the yoke too. So some of the stitches are purled, some of them are knitted through the back loop to give a bit of a twist, and I guess that adds to the effect of the colour work in the yoke, which wasn't super obvious from the photos, but it's making this an even more fun sort of knitting experience. The colour work's really simple, and you know, the purl stitches and the twisted stitches are really easy to follow. It's very sort of short repeats of the same pattern, but yeah, just as I say, makes it even more of an interesting knitting experience. I'm not sure how well the camera will pick up on the texture, but I'll try and show you a slightly more close-up of the colour work. Can you see those sort of pearl bumps? I don't know how well that shows up, and I think until I finished the full sort of colour work yoke you wouldn't really get the full effect. But yeah, I'm really pleased with my progress. I got slightly further than even I had sort of hoped or anticipated. As always, I'm kind of sad to put that project down, which is a good sign, isn't it? The only other thing I would say about the project, I'm liking how the colours are playing together so far, but this section above the colour work yoke I knit on the 4mm needles, as I said I would, and it was a little bit tough going on my hands because this yarn, although the sweater, the overall sweater, has sort of plenty of stretch, the yarn itself doesn't have a ton of stretch. I'm assuming that's probably the silk content. I'm probably not going to be able to demo with my face in the camera, but it's got a teeny amount of stretch, but not much. I've gone up to a 4.5mm needle for my colour work, and that's a little bit easier on my hands. So once I get back to the main body of the sweater, I may just stick to that 4.5mm needle, because I don't think the difference in the fabric, this is just a teeny tiny bit at the top of the neck, and it's quite an open neck, so having a slightly sort of tighter fabric around that bit will probably be just fine. And then just to make things a little bit easier on my hands, I might stick with my 4.5mm needle. I'll do my usual and knit down to the separation for the like body and arms, and then try it on for fit and figure it all out from there, I think. Right, I need to wrap up. This is probably a slightly longer video than I had anticipated. I'm going to have slightly less knitting time, I think, today. So tomorrow's video might be slightly shorter, but we'll see. I always say that and then I manage to waffle on for ages. So I'm off to get this edited and uploaded. And then once it's uploading, I can come back and start the video that will hopefully go up tomorrow for my day 2 project. So don't forget to keep commenting on the videos and letting me know what you're casting on, and if I do get details of any cast-ons, I shall share them in my next video. Thank you for joining me for day 1 of my 12 cast-ons this year. I hope you will join me again for tomorrow's cast on, but until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now.